This presentation is called Your Divine to Be Rich, and it's going to be a little bit woo if you're into that sort of thing. However, all of the things that I'm about to share with you are derived from my religion as a Muslim, but I'm also going to package it up for you in a secular way because there are a lot of like secular kind of presentations of these concepts that have become popular as people are not that really into religion. So what I'm going to share with you first is, you can see here, these are a few transactions in my Wise account for the agency. And just a few, like a tiny snippet of my Wise account. So you have 2,000 coming in, 10,000, 5,000, 2,200. That's a bonus for performance. Another 2,000, another 5,000, a couple more 5,000, 2,000, and 10,000. That's just like a very small snapshot of the revenue I've generated over the year. And then for Copy Skills, we've got all of these product purchases coming in. A local business micro agency that I did with John Caprani this year, it was $250 and the VIP was $1,000. So we had a really good month when that launched. And then we did corporate prospecting blueprint with Lauren Hazel. That was $250 plus the $1,000 for the VIP. A bunch of people bought that as well, and that was a good month. And then we've had Judy's Challenge this year. And so that's, depending on when you bought it, that's $25 to $100 to actually $200 if you bought the VIP very late. This is what my income has looked like since I started copywriting. I started in 2015. I believe my first year, it was like an accidental project that I got. And I think I got paid like $1,000 or maybe like $1,500 for that project. 2016, at this point I was doing like copywriting part-time. I still had my full-time job at the time. So even though I didn't make a lot of money from copywriting, it's not the only income that I made. But from copywriting in 2016, I didn't make much, maybe like a couple of grand. And then you can see it started to grow. 2018 was, between 2017 and 2018 was when I was working as a partner at my friend's agency. And 2018, after I left that job, is when I got hired in my first like real copywriting job by a consultant named Mike Mark, who ran coachingsales.com, which is a sales consultancy. And that was the client that basically launched my career. And after working with him, a lot of these opportunities came my way. It's how I developed my reputation as an email marketer, and a lot of people come to me for email marketing through the reputation I've built with working with Mike Mark. I ended up working with Mike Mark for 3 years, and we went from making $30,000 a month to $300,000 a month at one point. It took me 5 years since I started to make my first six-figure month. So my first 100K per year it was like 5 years into my copywriting career, even though the first 2 years of copywriting were like part-time. And then it's basically just gone up since then. And 2025 is going to be the best year yet. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand that I am an average copywriter. And as an average copywriter, this is the type of progression that you can expect in your career. You probably have seen a lot of examples of success stories of copywriting students who have shown up. They start copywriting and within 3 months, they're making 20 grand a month or 30 grand a month. Some even make 40 to 50 grand a month. While they do exist, and there are several of them, they are the exception. The vast majority of copywriters in the world probably make around 50K per year if they're actually good at what they do, 50 to 75K per year. Most of them don't crack six figures even. And so your job as a copywriter is only to be stubborn enough to outlast your peers. And if you are stubborn enough and if you are persistent enough, you will eventually be successful. Because you can see it took me 5 years to hit my first six figures, and then 2025, I'll be making multiple six figures. Even though I never talk about the exact amount of money that I make, neither to people in my coaching community or even in my marketing, because I'm like an old school guy. I think it's low class to talk about how much money you make. And also, I don't want to use that in my marketing because I don't want to flex that kind of thing, because I know that for the vast majority of people, that kind of money that they're making is not in the cards for so many of them. I don't want to give them false expectations. And that kind of hurts my conversion rates as somebody who sells info products and somebody who coaches copywriters, because I don't have this marketing tactic that I can use where I flex lifestyle and flex income and things like that. Even though these days it's become very popular to talk about how much money you make online. Like I said, I'm pretty old school with that. So all you have to do to become successful is to last long enough. There are probably copywriters who started the same time as me who have quit copywriting and are no longer copywriters. And there are also copywriters who have started later than me who have achieved much greater success and make even more money, a lot more money. The point is that everybody's journey is individual, and the only thing that you can count on is your consistency and your stubbornness to achieve the goal that you set out for yourself. So that's point number one. And the second point that I wanted to tell you about is it's more of a question. So what I would like for you to do is drop a one in the chat and just pay attention to the question. Drop a one in the chat if you are 100% certain that you will never ever be a billionaire. So it looks like Wes is the only one with the most negative opinion about himself. I guess that's pretty good for the group. Only 1 out of 7 here. But my question to you would be, Wes, like, why would you believe that about yourself? And you don't have to answer. It's just a rhetorical question. Like, why would you believe that about yourself? Whatever your definition of rich is, are you 100% certain that you would never be a millionaire? Are you 100% certain that you'll never be a billionaire? Are you 100% certain that you'll never be a trillionaire? And to help you understand why I'm asking that question, this is why I dropped the poker reference. Have any of you played poker, either for fake money or real money? So if you play poker, you get some cards. The other people playing also get some cards. And you start off with a set of cards and you bet on the outcome of who has the best combination of cards. Now, those aren't the only cards you get. There are more cards to be dealt. So as the game progresses, you collect more cards and put the best combination of cards together. And at the end of the hand or the game, the person with the highest score or the best combination of cards wins, right? So now my question to you is, if you knew all the cards that your opponents are holding and every single card that's about to be dealt, would you ever lose this game? Drop a one in the chat. Actually, there's no way to drop a one in the chat for this question, but just think about it. If you knew, like you know your cards, you know exactly the cards that your opponents are holding, and you know every single card that's about to be dealt for the rest of the hand, would you be ever in a position to lose? You would never actually lose. You would win every hand, right? And now, obviously, you don't know what your opponents are holding. You can't see the future, and you can't see the future. You don't know which cards are going to be dealt. Who does is God does. God knows every single thing that is happening right now, and he knows every single thing that's about to happen to you in the future. Okay? So you don't know if you're actually going to be a billionaire. It could be the case that you are actually a billionaire. And that's something that's been destined for you. So why would you, it's good we have an example of Wes who dropped a one that he says he thinks is never going to be a billionaire. So why would you actually think that it's not possible for you? Because you actually don't know for certain. You don't know the future, right? It could be possible. So why don't you actually act as if you becoming a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever is inevitable? And if you act as if that is inevitable, how would you play the game? How would you conduct yourself? How would you approach your career as a copywriter? If you acted as if it was 100% certain that you would become a successful copywriter, a millionaire copywriter, and eventually become a billionaire in terms of your net worth, how would you approach your work? How would you approach this business of copywriting? Which leads me to my next point, and is that if you truly desire something and you do everything you can to achieve it, God is going to grant that to you. And all you have to do in this case is have a good opinion of God, right? If you have a good opinion of God, if you think, hey, listen, I know that if I set my mind to something and I do everything possible to achieve my goal, I know that God is going to grant it to me. And so this even has variations of this in secular kind of woo-woo spiritual speak. So people will say things like affirmations, where they'll be like, the universe is conspiring to make all of my dreams come true. You might have heard something like that with all of this new age spirituality. There are so many different variations of those affirmations. And there is even a sort of like neuroscience justification to it. I don't know if you guys have heard of something called the reticular activating system. So it's like a bundle of nerves or neurons in the oldest part of our brain called the brainstem. It's like down here below at the base of your neck. And what that is, it's responsible for regulating what we pay attention to and where our focus is and what information gets to our conscious mind. And so if your goal is to become a successful copywriter and you're seriously intent on that goal, all of the information that your reticular activating system is going to feed into your brain is all the ways that you can, all the things you can do, all the ways you can become successful as a copywriter. It's like when you're thinking about buying a red car or like a particular model of car and you start seeing that car everywhere. Has that ever happened to you? You're thinking about buying this particular SUV or something like that, and suddenly you start seeing that SUV everywhere. That is your reticular activating system in action. And it's not even conscious, it happens unconsciously. So when you're focused on, when your entire mind is focused on becoming a successful copywriter, achieving your goal and getting clients, and you're doing all of the work, suddenly you'll find all of these opportunities start to pop out of nowhere. Suddenly you are going to see leads everywhere. Suddenly you are going to be, you're going to see someone and immediately you're going to think of an offer to pitch them and you're going to DM them just on autopilot. And that is a feature of Call it reticular activating system, call it the universe conspiring to work in your favor, call it having a good opinion of God. That is eventually what is going to happen. If you're serious about your desire to become a successful copywriter and you do everything in your power to achieve that goal, you will eventually get what it is that you desire. And which leads me to my next point, which is to talk to you about gratitude. And you are in a favored position that you could say 95% of the world isn't in. You have the ability, the opportunity, the intelligence, the wherewithal, and the capacity to make money online by typing words on the internet. Most people in this world do not have that blessing. When I launched our free course, Fastest Path to Cash, last year in September, I've had hundreds of people send me messages thanking me. Thank you for providing so much value for free, all different variations of thank you. However, less than 9% of the people who joined that course actually went through the material. And even fewer than that actually implemented the material and got clients from the free course that we put out. We had over 1,300 people sign up for that course, and less than 100 either completed the course, and even less than that were able to get clients from the course. So their actual verbal messages of thanks didn't mean anything because they didn't do anything with the information. The real way that you show gratitude is by acting on the gifts that you've been given, right? And not only that, the real way to show thankfulness is to use the gifts that you've been given in the right way, because we can use gifts in the wrong way as well, right? We can use our blessings to commit sin or to do evil things rather than good things. So your job here, if you're actually showing gratitude for the opportunities that you've been given, is to actually use those opportunities in the best way possible to achieve your goals, rather than one, not doing anything with it, or two, even worse, doing something negative with it. So for all of you who joined the Client Magnet Challenge, right? We're grateful and appreciative when you say this challenge has been super helpful. Thank you for the challenge. But the only way that we will see that you are truly thankful is if you actually use what Judy has taught you and what I've taught you here today. And then my next point is why 2025 is the year that I made the most money I've ever made. And I firmly believe it's because that I spent the most money on other people. So I hired somebody to do our YouTube videos for my agency, and I've been working with Judy for almost a year now. And then earlier this year, I bought a school community from Alicia Joseph. And so I've been spending so much money on other people that it was inevitable that I would make a lot more money in return, because God is the one who's providing for those people, right? But he's providing for them through me. And because he's using me as a tool to provide for these people, he's paying me a management fee on top. Because he's paying me a management fee for all the hassle I have to go through managing these people and hiring them and managing them and coaching them and leading them. It's like the water cycle, right? So what the water cycle is how water circulates through the earth, through evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff, right? So water will evaporate, that turns into clouds, that turns into rain. The rain falls onto rivers. If it falls onto mountains, it freezes. And then in the summer, it melts, it flows down to the rivers and oceans. And so that process is continually going on ever since the earth has had water. And it's absolutely essential for life as we know it on earth. And money is a little bit like that. It has to always stay in a constant state of motion. It's not even for you, because I don't need actually multiple six figures to live. I can get by just fine on maybe $3,000 a month, $36K a year. The extra that I'm making is for other people. So at a certain point, when you make enough money, you're going to run into a wall where you can't scale past a particular amount of income. And that's because you don't have bigger reasons why you need to make more. If all you're doing is living for yourself and $3,000 a month is plenty for you, you have no reason to grow past $3,000 a month. And so you won't do what it takes to grow even further, because you haven't installed those additional reasons in your mind that would force you to grow. And they have to be real reasons as well, reasons that you actually believe in. In my case, I want to be able to support my team members, continue working with them, continue paying them. I want to be able to support and provide for my family, not just my immediate family, my extended family as well. I would like to hire more people. I would like to enjoy nice things in life. And so you would want to list all of those reasons why you would want to make more money, to install believable reasons that are outside yourself as ways to motivate you to actually continue to grow and to make more money. And the next point is self-talk, right? And avoiding negative self-talk. So I was listening to in one of Emmanuel's reels yesterday that Judy played, and he made a self-deprecating joke about himself. And I posted in the comments, don't put yourself down in your content. People are going to put you, there's so many people who are going to write you off and put you down and think negative things about you and believe you're not going to make it. You don't have to do that for yourself. It's people are already going to do that for you. There's no reason for you to do that for you. And so think about all those times where you talk, all the times that you talk to yourself and you speak to yourself in a negative tone. Yeah. Imagine if a friend spoke to you that way. Would that person still be your friend? Imagine the worst things that you say to your self-talk, and imagine somebody else who's supposed to be your friend talking to you that way. Would you still have a friendly relationship with that person? You wouldn't. You would cut that person out of your life. But we talk to ourselves that way. Many of us talk to ourselves that way every day. In many cases, we almost never have a positive word to say to ourselves. So the way we talk to ourselves has a huge effect on the way we show up in life, in our professional life, personal life, and the way we operate in our business. And like, for example, when Wes dropped a 1 in the chat, when I said, do you believe it's impossible for you to be a billionaire? That was his negative self-talk manifesting and becoming apparent because I'm assuming because he has a lot of negative self-talk, or he puts himself down too much, where he thinks that it's not possible for him to achieve these really lofty goals. Stop self-deprecating. Stop having a bad opinion of yourself. There's really no reason to, because not only is it not true in most cases, it's also going to affect your ability to do this job and to show up when you're doing your outreach. If you have a negative opinion of yourself, how can you sell yourself to other people? How can you send thousands of cold DMs and get rejected hundreds of times and continue to do it despite that, if you don't have the conviction that you are able to actually help people with what you do? It is only that strong self-belief in yourself that will motivate you, that will inspire you to keep pushing with your outreach, even though you fail 1,000 times. And finally, the 1,001th time, you get that yes. And then the final point I want to make today is I want to tell you about when I started boxing. And one day, I've always had this idea in my mind that every man needs to be punched in the face at one point in his life as part of his like self-development and self-improvement. And I'm an online acquaintance of Andrew Tate, and he would always talk about boxing and things like that. I'm also a friend with another professional boxer. His name is Ed Lattimore. And I've always wanted to get involved in combat sports. And so I decided, okay, now's the time I'm going to learn how to box. And I just turned 39. So I'm pushing 40 and learning how to box for the first time. And I decided I'm not going to figure this out for myself. There's almost no way to figure it out for yourself anyway. So I decided to hire a coach. So I went from not knowing how to throw a punch and being extremely uncoordinated and unathletic to pretty much losing my balance every time I tried to throw a punch. I went from not knowing how to throw a punch to doing my first white collar fight within 3 to 4 months. Like, we started in July, that November I had my first fight. And then over 3 years, I ended up doing 4 fights. And I believe that if I had not hired that coach, that would not have been possible. I would have spent too much time trying to figure things out on my own. And also there would have been no one there to correct me when I made mistakes, right? So the actual access to information is not the problem. I could have spent like 8 to 12 hours watching YouTube videos and recreating boxing drills and trying to teach myself that way. The access to information is not the problem. Even if you are disciplined, the fact that I was paying this coach and I was paying him to show up 3 times a week, like, I didn't have to rely on discipline. I didn't have to rely on motivation to show up and train. The coach was there to tell me what not to do, to point out my mistakes, to give me constant feedback. And it was through that feedback that I was able to get better, to even reach to a point where I was able to take my first fight. The coach, I wouldn't have known how to find my first fight to begin with. I would not have the connections. I would have had to gone out of my way to find, okay, network with people, find who's hosting a fight. Is there a fight I can take part in? I build relationship with those people. But no, my coach, he already had those relationships. And so his buddy was putting on this white collar boxing event and say, hey, do you want to fight in this event? And so I said, hell yeah. And I didn't have to do anything. He trained me. He got me into on the card, is what they say. And so I was able to do my first fight within 3 to 4 months. Right? And that was all because I hired a coach. Okay. And so all of that to say, after you're done with this challenge, today is the last day. You are either going to continue doing your outreach and doing your homework task and try to make it a routine. If you are able to, that's great. More power to you. But the reality is, most of you are probably your life is going to get in the way. Other things are going to happen. This outreach thing is going to be deprioritized. You're going to hit your first 100 or 200 or 300th rejection, or 500 DMs of people not even replying to you, completely ghosting you, and you might even give up. But if you are, what's going to happen is you're just going to let everything fall to the wayside. But if you are working with a coach, in this case, Judy is offering you access to her one-on-one in the Client Magnet Accelerator, that is not going to happen to you. Yes, I know that it's a significant investment, but imagine if this time next year, you never have to do a single outreach message again. Because here's what I need to tell you. You're only going to need to do all of this outreach for your first like 1 to 3 clients. After you get your first 1 to 3 clients, all of your clients are going to come from referral. You will probably never have to do outreach again. As long as you choose the right client, as long as you do a really great job for them, once you build that reputation, it's going to be impossible for you to not get work. I always say once you pass your first 3 paying clients, it's impossible for you to not make 6 figures a year because the clients are just going to end up coming through either word of mouth or through you documenting your journey online or through your actual clients referring people to you. The clients are going to come. And so that is why it could help you to invest in this one-on-one coaching. Because if you think about it, you're going to spend all this time doing outreach, you're going to think of, okay, what do I reply to this person? Okay, I got this weird response. How should I respond? You might see somebody who looks on the face of it that they're interested, but you're not able to tell because one, you've got tunnel vision. Oh, finally, this prospect replied to me. They must be ready to work together. You've been hearing hundreds of rejections, and finally you hear a yes. You get one idea about this one prospect. But then because Judy's seeing thousands of prospects, she's able to tell you, oh, this person is not really that interested. Continue the conversation for a little bit, but you need to watch out for this and this red flag. Yeah. And there are so many different things that Judy's experience can help you with on this cold outreach journey, where you would not have the experience to see it, first of all, and you would not know how to respond to it when you do experience it. And so that is the end of my presentation, Your Divine Right to Be Rich. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, you're welcome to ask.